Hello and welcome to Blue Balloon Theatre's very first podcast. We are so excited to be creating this for you, and this is a wonderful new venture for us as well. And so today you're going to be listening to myself, Becca, I'm the Artistic Director.
And me, Jas, the Associate Director.
And professional hats off. So we figured the best way we could create a podcast and the best place to begin would be to talk about how we started as a theatre company and sort of that very first project that sparked us into action.
So where did you get the inspiration for the project? Where did it all start?
So I was studying at LIPA in Liverpool, started there in 2014, and it was around 2015 when I was entering my second year of study that I encountered some health problems, and it was largely to do with the contraceptive pill, which I had been taking. And I think in the time I took it, which was probably about maybe a year and a half, slightly longer, I'd taken 3 different types of it, and I was shocked at how bad my health was, especially my mental health. And suddenly I thought I mustn't be the only woman that's ever experienced these problems, and so started to write down what was happening in sort of scene form. It was definitely verbatim theatre. It was word for word accounts of what had happened in conversations with doctors, in conversations with my partner at the time. And I realised how toxic it actually was, and how toxic my brain had become to sort of live in all the time. You know, it was really, really difficult. I lost a lot of weight. I was very, very poorly. And suddenly my focus was less on my studies and more on what was going on inside my head, which was largely to do with these hormones that were sort of building upon the hormones I was already having in myself, in my head. And so, yeah, I started to write these scenes and thought, yeah, I'd like to actually get these scenes on the feet. I'd like to, see what it's like in it being performed. And that was when I called upon the wonderful actors who were studying with me at LIPA and said, can we do a research and development workshop? Can we get these scenes up on their feet and see what dramatic effect is kind of brought to them? And it was amazing. That very first workshop was liberating because suddenly I got to see my own writing, which was something very alien to me. I'd never had the confidence to write before, up on its feet, and it wasn't half bad.
Half decent.
Yeah, it was all right. And so yeah, I think it was at that point really that I suddenly felt very confident in being able to put sort of my own scenes together, writing, and I thought I want other people to experience this kind of confidence in their own writing and in being able to develop it. And that was when I wanted to sort of start up a theatre company.
Yeah, and I guess what sort of things about LIPA that encouraged you? I know there's so many people that went to LIPA that did actually venture into creating their own theatre companies. So
yeah, how
did LIPA help you stir the idea of actually creating a theatre company?
I think more than anything, LIPA teach you to be an actor, but they give you a great sense of grounding in the training that they offer. And all the time you were reminded that if you're not working, if you're not being employed by somebody as a performer, create your own content, put your own work out there and use your own voice. And I think that stuck with me up until now, and will probably stay with me for the rest of my career, because I think had I not have had that training and that instilled into my sort of psyche, I genuinely don't think I would have written half as much as I now have, which is wonderful, really.
I just wanted to read out like Blue Balloons Theatre's little description on Facebook, because I just think like what you just said is encapsulated in what the whole theatre kind of defines. So Blue Balloon Theatre is a platform for actors and creatives wanting to develop and showcase their own writing, and I guess that's pretty much everything that you've said, but that you gained from Lipper, and essentially what you did with Pill, and being able to transfer Pill. By the way, I don't think we even mentioned what the play was called.
No, it's called Pill. My play is called Pill, and it's still, even now, and this is like 4 years, probably even more than 4 years down the line, it's still in development, and I think it's something that has kind of surprised me in a way, because when you write something, some people might want to get it up on stage straight away and develop it and show it off straight away, and for me that was less of a thing. I think I wanted to sort of take my time and really enjoy each sort of progressive stage with it. And so now, 4 years down the line, it is still in development. We do have a full version of play, a full one-act version of the play, which is amazing, but it's taken quite a while to get there. And I think for anyone that's listening who has started to write their own play or just their own work in general, there is no time limit. There really isn't. I think that's something that people don't need to worry about it as much. Unfortunately, because of the society we live in, it's a very fast-paced way of living. And, when it's something as personal as your own experience going into a play format, you can take your time with it, because, there might be things you don't want to share. And so how do you get around that? Yeah,
because I guess the other themes in your play revolve around like mental abuse that you've got, and obviously it's really hard. I mean, me personally, like I've done my own writing and speaking out about instances that are so personal, and it's almost triggering in a way because you're seeing real life events happening. And I just wanted to mention that obviously it's taken 4 years, and unfortunately the ideas and problems with the pill, they don't seem to be going away. No. Like recently I was put on the pill, and again I experienced what you experienced, extreme mental health problems, and the only way that I saw that it was the pill was to not be on it for 2 weeks and just seeing that shift. And the only thing I can equate that was different was there was me with the pill, and then there was me without the pill. And yes, the pill gives me nice big boobs.
Always a winner.
But it's not always about that. And I think the thing, I've seen quite a lot of, new writing about female problems. Like my friends wrote a play about vaginismus. There's so little work and research done to women's health concerns. Absolutely. That these plays are always gonna be there and are gonna be relevant. So I think Pill's gonna be relevant for a very long time, and I think the more it gets progressed, there'll be a female audience member that'll go, oh my god, I went through that.
No, I agree, and I think that was something that really spurred me on in the very early stages, because I worked on a short performance of Pill as part of my dissertation, and my argument for my dissertation was, can a piece of theatre prompt an audience member into action? So could a woman watching my play and feeling what I went through, could that prompt them into then questioning the sort of treatment and diagnosis they get from a doctor, from a medical professional? Because that essentially is what I was questioning. It's one of the things I was questioning. And I think because I knew quite firmly that that was what I wanted to argue, I think that came across in the actual play itself and the piece. And so later down the line, when we had more play development workshops, it became quite obvious, what the motive was behind the play. And I think that's so important when you're writing something, is to know what point you want to make and who it's aimed at. Because you could write anything, but if you don't have a really strong drive as to, yes, this is aimed at this person or these kind of people, then it's not as memorable in a way. It's not as poignant.
There's no point. It's just putting on a show for the sake of putting on a show.
Yeah.
And you want people to learn from your pain.
Exactly.
And it's comforting it's not comforting that other people have gone through shit, but it makes you feel less insane that other people have gone through the same thing you have. And I think through theatre form, it's like therapeutic in a way.
Exactly.
And then it opens a dialogue and people talk about it. And the more people talk about it, and to be honest, it would be really nice, with the pill. Most girls, I mean, I'm sure there are other reasons, but the general common reason people go on the pill is contraceptive, because their boys, their boyfriends, and me personally as well, don't like condoms.
Yeah.
And every other form of contraception mostly has hormones, apart from the copper coil, which causes incredibly painful periods, as I know. So if you do go with the pill, mostly because you want to have unprotected sex without a condom because it feels better. And actually, it would be really nice if, as a boyfriend watching that play, to see the pain of a woman go through all of that for the sake of taking a pill to make sex a bit better.
Yeah.
That actually it's to a higher price to pay.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it is crazy when you look into like the science of things and, how many side effects are sort of attached to the pill. And something that I found really interesting was a lot of the men that came to watch the first sort of showing of pill were shocked at how much they didn't know. And suddenly they were thanking me because they understood what their girlfriends or loved ones, or sisters, mums, everything, that what they were going through. And I was like, how do you not know that? How is this discussion not normal? It's a very female thing. Men don't really involve themselves in that conversation, and that needs to change because, especially if you're in a relationship with someone, it is a very current issue, and as you said before, rightly so, it will continue to be a current issue. And I think the fact that we've been able to use this play, this piece, to reflect what's going on in our society in that sense is great, because suddenly it's like we're holding a mirror up to society and saying, this is wrong. How are we going to change it?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what theatre's for, I think.
Yeah, and I think you write in pill and using your personal experiences. Like for me, I'm not someone who could write a novel or write a play about something I don't know, but then obviously using that as a way of writing.
Yeah.
And just writing what you know, and like you said, having an audience member in mind. And it's just crap that, there's this stigma about one woman plays, or, there's the vagina monologues or whatever. But women go through so much shit that men don't even have to bat an eyelid. You could write a bloody play on periods.
Yeah.
Because they are so horrendous.
Yeah, literally.
And it's remarkable how much we go through and how contraception is still seen as the female responsibility.
Yeah, and it isn't.
It isn't.
I had this conversation with my boyfriend the other week, and I was on my period, very hormonal, very all over the place. And I said, you have them. You have these pains. Please, experience them. I wish that you could in a way, because...
Be more sympathetic.
Yeah. They have no idea what we experience. And it is difficult in a way, because it's very hard to explain sometimes, especially when you
don't have a uterus.
Yeah. But
it happens every month.
Exactly. And that's something that we're, as a species, as a female race, if that's the right way of putting it, that we're so used to it.
Yeah.
We are so used to it. But guys just don't have any any sort of idea of how painful it is. And
yeah, and you can't help it. They're dropping hormones,
all kinds.
Yes, rushed a bit. Contraception.
Yeah.
Use condoms.
Yeah, use condoms.
They're the best.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. But I think for me personally, when I wrote the play, I think I was at an age where I was very aware of what was going on in my life, but I think I was still quite young and naive in some respects. And so for me to actually take ownership of what had happened, taking ownership of my actions and noticing others, I think that was a big thing. That helped me comprehend what was happening. And then when I started to show other people and they were like, yeah, this is normal, I was like, this is great, because I now fully understand what was happening to me at the time, and that actually it's not as big of a deal in hindsight, but it was crucial that I shared that journey.
Yeah, well, in the first revision, you have verbatim pieces from other females.
Yes.
And would you like to talk about, I think you did a workshop at Gulliver's.
Yeah, so we did the workshop back at Lipper, which was in the very early stages, and then I sort of developed it a little bit further, started to write a little bit more, and then it was it was at Gulliver's in the Northern Quarter in Manchester that I sort of arranged another R&D workshop. And what was nice about that was there were some people that I knew as actors that were there and that attended, but there were also some people that were completely, fresh sets of eyes, basically, eyes and ears, and they were like, wow, this is a really important story to tell. And it was really nice to see how they engaged with my writing. I think that's one of the most fulfilling things, is seeing how each individual actor will take on my writing, your writing, so completely differently, depending on their experiences and their knowledge. And that's the amazing thing about acting, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's really, really, really amazing how you have every intention of how you think someone's going to say something, and you write something with a specific intention, and someone reads it out and you find something completely new because you can't see it, because you've just got so stuck in your way. And even we both had a self-tape to do, and I read it to Becca, and we just happened to pick the same acting choice.
It was so bizarre.
And it's just funny that, but then also you've got different ways of saying stuff and different intonations. But then it's just, like we were saying, when you have writing that's worded in the way that we speak, i.e. Northern Mancunian working class, it's just so much better. And you know what? I think the one thing, there's a stigma with one woman plays, is that it's white middle class woman going da da da. Fleabag is wonderful, amazing piece of writing, love it. But it is about a white middle class female.
Exactly.
And it'd been that, and it's just nice that you've got this Northern Mancunian esque thing. And then I guess another thing I wanted to bring up was, I guess you have a monologue towards the end.
Yes.
And I guess what Blue Balloon does, and I'm sure this is for another podcast, we do a lot of spoken word and poetry.
We do.
And there's influences in that monologue, if you'd like to expand on that.
Yeah, so I wanted to write a monologue for the end of the piece, and I kind of wanted it to tie in with the beginning monologue, which brings Tic Tacs into the space. And we use Tic Tacs as a sort of, we imagine that they are pills. They are referred to as, well, similar to being pills, basically. And so I wanted to kind of tie that into the last monologue and wasn't really sure how to do it. And I'm not a very conventional writer, so I wouldn't sit down and write a really dramatic monologue. That's not my thing.
No.
And then I think it was around the time of us venturing into poetry and spoken word, and us being influenced by the people that visited us and worked with us, that I suddenly started to write my own poetry. And that was when that final monologue, or poetry piece, you might say, came about. And so I essentially wrote a spoken word piece encompassing all the side effects of the pill, my experiences with it, and I think when I've performed it, that sort of frustration that I felt during the 1.5 years of taking the pill really came across.
Yeah. Because
it's something that you can really build into the rhythm of any poem or spoken word piece if you want. You know, like I said, I don't write conventionally. I write how I think.
Yeah.
And so the rhythm became very fast, very passionate, and I think an acting choice really was the sort of frustration that I felt, and that really came across. But yeah, that was a very interesting sort of exploration, I think, for me, because it was something that I'd never thought of bringing into a play, was spoken word. And yet it's quite a done thing, really.
No, I think it's very effective, and I think it switches it up rather than just your classic tuna fish monologue screaming at an audience.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's humour in it as well.
Yeah, and that's just to touch upon that. I really wanted to sort of tie my humour into the play, the piece, and because I deal with problems with humour, you know, if I'm confronted with an argument or a debate or anything like that, I will use humour to cope with it. And so I wanted to try and get that across in the piece, and hopefully it did come across. I know that was something that a lot of people who knew me, when they saw it, they said, oh yeah, we could see your sense of humour, your personality coming through. Yeah. And it makes me think it would be interesting for other women to take this role on.
Yeah, to see how they would.
Yeah, to see how they would put it across. Who knows? Maybe that's something for the future.
Oh, so talking about future, I think is a good segue. So, what's the future plans? Future for the pill?
Well, I'll be honest. I really, really wanted to get it up on stage again this year, but at its full length. That was something that was definitely in my sights. And then obviously coronavirus happened. And that kind of, it did scupper my immediate plans, especially not just with pill, but with Blue Balloon. But I think it kind of made me rethink what I wanted to do with it. And I think the main thing for me was getting a really solid draft of the full thing together. That was something that I sort of had the structure of it in my head, but I was like, I need to get this down on paper. Yeah. And so that was what I did in lockdown. And I think the next step really is to have it performed. I'd love to do it online, maybe, stream it on YouTube or something. I think that'd be quite cool, but we'd have to think about the logistics of it more than anything. Yeah. Because it's quite an interesting piece to stage, I think.
Yeah.
It has been quite interesting to stage so far, anyway.
I think the thing with live stream thing is when you're filming something, there's that temptation to kind of turn it into a film.
Yeah,
but the thing with pill is it's incredibly abstract.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh god, yeah, definitely.
So I guess if you're filming it has to be filmed as a theatre production rather than cutting together scenes, because I imagine that it wouldn't actually make a lot of sense as a film.
I don't think it would work as it is now. I don't think it would work, say, in a short film format. Yeah. It just wouldn't. It would have to be reworked quite a lot for it to work in that way. I'd love to take it to schools maybe, and get young women that are coming to the end of their sort of high school years. I would love for them to see it, because I think for me personally that was the age where I didn't really have any knowledge of the pill, of its side effects, of contraception. I mean, we went to an all-girls school.
I know.
And so that was that was a whole different kettle of fish, because you'd think...
Sex ed wasn't really a thing.
No, it wasn't. And so we kind of left, and I feel like everything we now know is through...
Mistakes,
our experiences, yeah, and what we've learned along the way. And that's, in a way, that's kind of sad, because, you know, it would be lovely to have walked into our first proper relationship having the slightest clue, but we didn't have that.
No.
And so it's crazy, really, how it's affected sort of teenage years.
Yeah, and I think that, because obviously it hints at, you know, difficult relationships with partners, and I think when you're young and you're naive, you do accept behaviours that if we were ever in them situations now, at the grand age of 25, we just tell someone to sling their hook.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But like when you're young and naive and you love someone, you... Actually, I would argue at the time and point of when the abuse is happening, you have no idea that it's happening, because you've got no idea of the tell signs. And then that's shit, because you then know, oh, well, that's manipulative behaviour. Yeah. So when it crops up in the future, you're like, I recognise that because it's happened.
Yeah. And
actually, it would be nice if, you know, men... And not just men, actually no, let's scrap that, because that's a crap way of putting it. Partners who do mentally abuse, regardless of their gender, pick up on signs when they are being manipulative and they are being abusive, and rather than it being up to the person being abused, to be like, stop doing that. Actually, people being able to recognise the signs of, actually, I'm being an absolute total arsehole.
Yeah.
And I do think the scene in which I'm referring to, that kind of behaviour is not uncommon.
No.
It's not like really bad that he needs to go to jail and
no.
But it's like little behaviours that are not taught that it's bad.
Yeah.
And it would just be nice if, for once, not men, you'd stop saying that. Partners, regardless of gender. Sorry, I'm just speaking because from my experiences, it has been men, being from heterosexual relationships. But if people are taught, this is what you should do in a nice consenting relationship, and making sure everyone's comfortable, and etc. But that, again, guys, is another podcast.
Oh, that's great. We've got 2 podcasts lined up now.
2 podcasts.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying. I think, especially when you're younger, I know I found this. I think I mentioned it before, but I was quite naive at the time, I think, in many ways. Unknowingly so as well, because when you're that age, you don't realise what is really right and wrong.
And I'm really mature for my age.
Yeah, literally.
Look at me in my adult relationship.
Yeah, and I think as well, I was in a relationship where I was the younger one. And I think, even though the age difference wasn't huge, that did make a difference, because, you know, not only was I in training at drama school, which is very intense, but I was having this relationship where I literally felt like a grown-ass woman.
Wow.
I did, and that was a really big thing for me at the time.
Which you learn all the life experiences after graduation. You do all the fun, stupid stuff before.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
like you said, my brain just went dead. No, because when you're younger, because of the very limited life experiences that we have, once you get over the age of like 25 to like 30, and, you know, since graduating and trying to live a life, is when you learn stuff. So when you're at a younger age, the age gap is quite important.
Yeah.
And then when you get older, that threshold, when you've both lived, like you living life within 5 years and 10 years is not that much different. But like when you're in training and you're like 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
And someone who has 2 years, that's 2 whole years, because you don't really start being independent until you're like 18.
True.
So 2 years is quite a big chunk of that. Now when you're older, you've already done everything that you could imagine, all the stupid, mindless boys.
All those stupid things.
All those stupid Tinder boys.
You know what? I've never had Tinder.
Don't get it.
I've never had a dating app.
Don't get it.
And I feel quite fortunate because of that.
I think if I didn't download dating apps, I won't be able to write a play.
Very true, very true. I mean, you know, I'm very excited to see your One Woman play.
We'll see.
Because that, I mean, I've had little snippets of it so far.
Trying to glue it together.
Yeah. But this is it. It's fun when you're in, like you are now, you're in the early stages of putting your own play together. That's exciting because it's your thing and you can take it at whatever pace you want to take it at, and whether you want to get someone else involved in terms of performing, directing, whatever, that's your call. You could do it all yourself. Well, you know, it's completely personal to you.
Well, I think that's the next stage. Like I have bare bones, and then I want, like you with an R&D. Because I know loads of people that will have gone through so many things similar to me, and getting their input and seeing how they deal with the content. And I mean, I would say Pale, I'd say 85% of it is really like nitty gritty.
Yeah.
And then the little hints of humour kind of break the tension a bit.
Yeah.
But it is a very serious thing, and actually...
It is.
Actually, because it is verbatim, especially like the scene that repeats... There's a scene that is that's based off a real conversation.
Yeah.
You can't make that funny.
No.
But I'm all about taking my experiences and turning them into comedy, mostly because, again, that's how we both deal with things, is making a joke out of things, and hopefully through the comedy, because again, mine is verbatim, mine are serious conversations, I'm just taking the piss out of them, and the sheer ridiculousness of them, which should hopefully, fingers crossed, but we'll see. It's good. I think seeing the development of Pill and actually seeing that it is possible to write. It started off I think it was, oh my god, what? I didn't even realise. I'm just going to say this now. We come to Unearthed, me and my partner at the time. We couldn't see it Unearthed, and we stayed around for a bit, which was
an event in Liverpool, and I think, had I just graduated, or was I in third year?
No, you'd graduated at this point. Blue Balloon was in full swing. It was 2017 or 18.
Yeah, so it was after I'd graduated.
After you graduated, and you performed, I think it was more the monologues.
Yes.
The monologue side.
It was like the condensed version of the full thing, really. Yeah. One woman. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, so actually we spoke about this, and I had my partner at the time, and we got the last train back from Liverpool, and I had my laptop in my bag, and that's when I started writing the first ever scene, or like bit of writing, which I've not used a lot of that. I've used snippets of it, and it's called Hungover, and I started writing these scenes about how my first boyfriend asked if he could finger me. It was just hilarious. And I now remember now, because I saw that, and me and Tom, we absolutely loved the entire night, and obviously yours stood out to us, and Tom absolutely loved it. And I remember I was sat there, I think I was a bit tipsy, and I was so like impressed with myself, writing out all of these shitty relationships that I've had and how hilarious they are, because I'm a mess. And I remember now, it was literally after watching play, and I thought, well, if Becca can do it, I can do it.
Absolutely.
And then I didn't touch it for 2 years.
This is the thing, isn't it? That I went through a very, very long period of time where I did not even bother with Pill. I didn't. I left it. I left it in the cupboard just to sit. And all the time I kept thinking about it, being like, oh, you know, should I go and work on it some more? But I thought, no, because when you're in the right frame of mind to write more,
it all comes out.
It all comes out, and that's when you should work on it. Never ever force it.
Yeah.
Because it'll be meaningless. In my opinion, your writing won't have the same level of impact. And that's something that I've learned about myself, really, is that I write when I'm at the height of an emotion. So when I'm angry, when I'm upset, when I'm completely sky high, completely in love with something, that's when I will write.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a lot of my sort of songs and poetry especially, it kind of comes across in those, like, you can completely tell what emotion I was feeling when I was writing it.
Yeah.
And I admire the people who can just write,
yeah,
at any time, but,
Our writing's very personal, though. And I'm not saying that we both couldn't turn around and write a play about something that we haven't experienced because we haven't tried it, but I don't think it would have the same impact. I don't think it'd have the same passion, and I don't think it would be as good. It might be, who knows?
Yeah.
But, I guess we're both actors, and that's where we come from, and we don't come from a writing perspective.
Yeah.
So I guess, what is it? There's a quote in Merrily We Roll Along saying, "Don't write what you know. Write what you know."
Yeah.
I
spent a good
don't write what you know. Write what you know. Merrily We Roll Along. Stephen Sondheim, everyone.
I do like Sondheim.
He's great. But yeah, no, it's mad.
Yeah, it is mad. I think my advice to anyone listening that is sort of thinking of writing their own stuff, maybe doesn't quite have the confidence or the sort of knowledge of what they're writing about, is go do your research. Like, I spent a very, very long time researching the contraceptive pill, the side effects, women's health, all that kind of thing. And then on top of all of that, I was researching drama practitioners, actors, acting methods that would put this story across in the best way. And I think, had I not have done all of that research, Pill would not be anywhere near as good as it is. And in my opinion, it is good. It is, because it puts across a very important message, and that for me is a good piece of writing.
Well, yeah, you don't ever want to put something out there that's got misinformation in. You want to make sure that everything's correct, because it is an educational piece.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it has to be. I mean, not every piece of writing has to be. It doesn't have to have an educational message, but with something like the pill, absolutely. it is to educate.
Yeah,
and so if you are going to write a monologue with a statistic in it, then you best hope, because someone might take that statistic. I've done it loads of times, that someone tells me something, and it's stuck in my brain, and then I pass it on to someone else, and someone's like, "Jas, that's complete bullshit."
No, it's true. It's so true. So yeah, I mean, just do your research. Be passionate about it. If you're not passionate about what you're writing about, I would say maybe leave it for another time.
Yeah.
Don't completely dismiss it, because you never know, you might experience something that sparks that fire again towards whatever the subject is. But I would just say, be passionate about it, do your research, and know what it is that you want to tell people.
Yeah.
Or your target audience, know what it is you want to put across. I mean, I'm incredibly grateful for the entire journey Pill's been on, because I think it's helped almost shape me as a writer, really. I've found my own style, and that's completely unique, it's completely mine, and I think that's the beautiful thing about writing, is that no one's going to write like you. It's like acting, no one's going to act like you.
No.
So
yeah, and just if you have, like, I've been doing it where I get a spur of inspiration, and I write like a spoken word piece on my phone, on my notes, or I'm sat on my laptop and I just write absolute shit out, and then I don't look at it. And then one day, like when we did, Becca's like, we're doing Freedom of Expression 2.0, do you want to do something? I was like, did like a couple of movement pieces at RAM, and I'd like to incorporate that. And then that's when I found Hungover, which I wrote 2 years previous, and actually ended up being nothing to do with that. But it just like spurred that, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And like writing little poetic sentences or anything that you can search on your notes at any point, and then when you are feeling like, I need to write something, you can like look through stuff that you've written, and
absolutely
you're helping yourself out. And it's like, I saw a post on Instagram the other day that if you ever draw a piece of artwork, or you make a piece of art, or you write a song, never delete it. You can put it in a folder and ignore it and forget about it, but never delete it, because you in 10 years' time can look back at that and you can find inspiration.
Yeah.
And something that you think is shit might not be. And it's really nice to reflect on the past.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's shaped everything that we now are. It's a very poetic way of looking at it, but it's true. Like, all of our past experiences, whether it be in education, in a romantic way, in a work kind of way, they've shaped us to be who we are now. And we learn from our experiences. And I think, as I said before, Pill has really helped shape me as a writer, as a facilitator as well, I think, because I mean, the amount of R&D and sort of events that I've put on to do with Pill, there's been plenty of them, do you know what I mean? And so I've had to put on various different hats to achieve what I've achieved, and that's amazing. It's so cool, and it's helped me with Blue Balloon as well. Like, you know, Blue Balloon continues to grow, and a very, very large part of Blue Balloon is Pill. And so I'm very glad that I started writing it.
Hopefully we can see Pill at the Greater Manchester Fringe, as Carol so wishes.
Oh my goodness! Yes, it has to happen.
Yes.
And it will happen.
It will happen.
It will.
It will.
Because we will make it happen.
We will make it happen.
Yeah.
Make it happen, hashtag.
That's our ethos. Hashtag. Jas just actually made a hashtag with her fingers. I'm very impressed. But yeah, I mean, this has been a wonderful chat.
Yeah, and I think we're coming to the end.
I think so too.
I'm going to go get my ginger nuts.
You're going to go get your ginger nut biscuits. Right, well, we best sign off. Thank you so, so much for listening to our very first podcast. We hope that you've taken something, however big or small, from it. We hope that you've been inspired to write your own work. And yeah, we can't wait to do our next one, whenever that may be.
Can't wait. In the future. Online, in person. We shall see.
We shall see.
We shall see.
But for now, we're going to sign off. We've been Blue Balloon Theatre. You're amazing for listening. Have a wonderful day.
Make it happen. Bye.
Bye.